In this video I will produce the sharpest Swiss Army knife blade you have ever seen, so stay tuned. Hello YouTube! Welcome to another Swiss Army knife tip and trick video. A brand new Victorinox Swiss Army knife like this comes normally razor sharp out of the box. So that means you should be able to shave the hairs on your arms or on your legs. The 40-degree angle of a Swiss Army knife is a compromise between a long-lasting, stable cutting edge and the cutting devil. If I regrind the knife, I prefer 2 times 17 degrees, so this makes these knives to a better slicer. Now back to the aim of this video. In this video, I want to produce a super sharp cutting edge who is able to split the hair if you just pull it over the cutting edge without giving any tension on the hair. In my opinion, splitting hairs is the supreme discipline if you want to show the performance of a super sharp edge. Between razor sharp and hair splitting sharp is a huge difference. If you want to shave hairs with a knife blade, you cut the hairs right on the skin. And the hairs are held in place by the roots. So if you cut right on the skin, the roots are something like an anchor point. And this makes it easy to cut the hairs. Of course, you need a sharp blade, but to get this level of sharpness, this is not really a problem. But to get the sharpness that you can split the hair by just pulling the hair over the cutting edge without giving any tension on the hair, this is a different story, especially if you want to make this with stainless steel. This is the first time that I try to produce a hair splitting sharp cutting edge. That's why I have to try out which grinding tools works the best. So these are the tools I can use to reach my aim. This is a USB microscope. With this I can watch the grinding pattern. This is my TS-proof cadet. This is my most accurate grinding system with 5 stones from 150 up to 900. This is a 1000 grit stone from Edge Pro. This is a stone with a 4000 sanding paper on it. And this is a leather strap for the TS-proof cadet. These are my leather straps with silicon carbide, copper oxide, iron oxide and plain leather. In the next 2 minutes I try to visualize you the difference between powder steel, stainless steel and carbon steel. And of course, there are 1000 types of every steel sort. And there is no rule without exceptions. What I try is to give you a rough understanding why the carbon steel from a Mora or from an Opinel is easier to grind out hair splitting sharp than the stainless steel from a Victorinox. These are 3 pictures from different steel structures 1000 times enlarged. The first picture shows you the structure of carbon steel. In this case, it's an 01. The second picture shows you the structure from stainless steel. In this case, it's a D2. And the last picture shows you the structure from powder steel. In this case, it's an S30V. As you can see, the steel structure of carbon steel and powder steel is much finer as the structure from stainless steel. The structure of stainless steel is coarser because of the chromium carbide deposits. And exactly these spots are super hard and super brittle. That's why it's usually easier to sharpen a carbon steel or a powder steel blade extremely sharp than a stainless steel blade. From the Victorinox steel production I know that they use a special process to keep these chromium carbide deposits as fine and as small as possible. And that's why it should be possible to grind out a Victorinox stainless steel with a bit more sensitivity and a bit more patience as fine as a carbon steel. And this is exactly what I want to try now. So let's start with the grinding work. The first thing I do is to set my TS-proof cadet on 70 degrees for each side. So now I zero it. Here is 0. Now I check the angle. Perfect, 17 degrees. Now I start with the 150 grit and go through until the 900 grit. This is the grinding pattern after the 150 grit stone. This is the grinding pattern after the 220 grit stone. This is the grinding pattern after the 400 grit stone. The pores of the 600 grit stone are clogged. With the blue side of such a rubber, you can clean the surface again so that the stone has its full performance. I learned this trick on the German YouTube channel from Andre Dirk. The link to his channel you find here and in the description box below. This is the grinding pattern after the 600 grit stone. This is the grinding pattern after the 900 grit stone. Now the chamfer starts to mirroring. The finest stone I have is the 1000 grit stone from Edge Pro. Also this stone I had to clean first. This is the grinding pattern after the 1000 grit stone. Now the chamfer is mirror polished. The result after the small leather strop with the light blue compound and the result after the 4000 grit sandpaper were worse than after the 1000 grit stone. That's why I went back and I made a nice mirror polished edge with the 1000 grit stone. Afterwards, I loosened the clamp at the TS-proof and I picked up the knife for the first cutting attempts, but I wasn't successful. So I have the feeling that I'm almost there where I want to be. So let me do a few strokes on the leather strop. But the grey side is too rough, so I start with the copper oxide side. After I change to the iron oxide and then on the plain leather. So let's go. So the thickness of the hair is about 6 micrometers. So, to be honest, I'm really surprised that this cutting test worked that well. I didn't expect that. If it makes sense to sharpen your ETC Swiss Army knife to this level, this is another topic. But it was fun to cut with this knife, this is for sure. If you think this wasn't the sharpest Swiss Army knife I have ever seen, please let me know your technique, how you can get a sharper result than this. I'm super interested to learn more about different sharpening techniques. So my friends, that's it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and see you next Friday. Ciao!